So there's many approaches in fitness and in this whole realm of things that I think we need to tax these approaches, not take the approach. So what does that mean? We need to take from it, we need to tax it, not do it ourselves. And there's a whole bunch of different examples here. So, and before I get into this list, I don't want anybody to get offended by some of the things I'm gonna say, because some of these things tend to feel a little bit, what's the good word for this? They have a big following and a very motivated, very vicious following. And I don't want to discredit that. I don't want to discredit that approach at all. But I want to say this, where we're going with our approach towards your health and fitness, where Insight coaching is going, it's really about taking all the best things about different aspects and bringing the best with leaving the rest out. Not taking anything to an extreme, right? So a lot of these approaches are the extreme of a good thing, right? Let's use yoga for an example to start. Yoga is great. I think the flow aspect, moving in and out of position, be able to hold the positions, be able to control your body in different positions, I think that's a great thing. I think the mobility aspect is important. The practicing the breathing is amazing. So if we can take the flow and if we can take the breathing from yoga and apply it to your situation and to your plan, that is an aspect of yoga that we want to tax. But there's some component, it's possible to be too flexible. It's possible to focus too much on the relaxation aspect of it, the flexibility aspect, and not the work that needs to be done towards your goal. Next, intermittent fasting. I know I recently did a video about this, but there's components of intermittent fasting that might be helpful. The awareness of your hunger, awareness of sensations, the awareness of how much you're eating throughout the whole day. I think that's important. If anything, you learn that hunger is not an emergency. Those are two really good aspects out of, there's a third that we talked about in the video. You'll have to go back and watch that. But there's components of intermittent fasting that we want to tax. But I don't think that everybody and anybody should be just doing intermittent fasting all the time. Ketogenic diet, for example, that came back and it helped people not to be so afraid of fat. There was a period of time that everything was fat-free. And I think there was a fear of fat. And I think keto helped to really unwind that. So I want to bring that into your plan, into our approach. But at the same time, you cannot be keto and still have a lot of refined foods, right? So there's a good component of this. It's like if we can move you towards a little bit more whole foods, I think eating a little bit more like a keto person is helpful in that aspect, right? CrossFit, they are trying to find a lot of ways to burn a lot of calories in a short amount of time. They're compounding exercises, making circuits, all that. So I think that component of it is great, but I don't think that you should be trying to do as many deadlifts as you can in 30 seconds. It puts you at risk, right? So let's tax the circuit aspect, let's tax the community, the fun aspect of it, and let's leave out the rest. Running, there's a whole following where it comes to running, and I think running is great to, up to a certain extent. I think everyone should be able to run a certain amount of distance, I think, right? But what comes out of that, and what we want to tax for our situation, I want to be able to zone 2 cardio wherever possible. That's the best thing for your heart. So if we can tax that component from running, I think we've done something well without having to be able to run thousands of kilometers and putting yourself into stress fractures, etc., right? Calisthenics, this is where you're using your body weight all the time. I think there's some great opportunities to do things where you're moving your own body, but I think it's possible that in some situations your body might weigh too much. Certain positions are not that great for you, but if we can do more and more of bodily control your body in different positions and through movements, I think that's something that needs to be taxed, but we don't need to take the calisthenic route. Being vegan, I think that's something that takes a good component and goes a little bit too far. I think it's amazing that you're having more vegetables. Everybody who's watching this should be able to have more vegetables. Have more vegetables. That's what you should be focusing on. That's the component of that approach that we're going to tax. But we don't want to take that approach. There's some types of fitness where it's like implement focus. You're only using kettlebells, or you're only using TRX, or you're only using Vipers, or in calisthenics is another example, right? But I think each one of those tools are good for its own reason, and we want to tax it. We want to use it, but we don't want to base everything and our identity around this. And I think that's really what this message comes down to. There's some really good tools and things out there that we want to tax. We want to take components of it, take the best parts of it, and apply it to our situation. But we don't want to get stuck into identifying as somebody who is any one of the things that I have listed. I'm not a yogi. I'm not a keto head. I'm not a vegan. I'm not a runner. This is not, it's not part of your identity. You're somebody who's healthy, who likes to get active, who's moving towards a goal. But you're not any one of these things. They're not religions. They're not identifiers that you identify with yourself. And there's great things that we are pulled out of those things. We've talked about that. But I don't want you to get pulled into any extreme with anything. The middle path, the middle road is where we want to be. And we want to take all the best components of all these things and we want to apply it to our situation. And that's how you're going to be the best that you can be.